Discover the heartwarming truth: one knock transformed a billionaire's life in 30 incredible days. Danny Thompson's hands were calloused and worn, just like his heart, but they still managed a smile as he opened the door. He was greeted not by the expected face of a neighbor, but by a suit that gleamed like a diamond in the rough Maplewood sun. Trevor Blake, a man once courted by the wealthiest and most powerful, now stood before him, a lost billionaire seeking solace in a town that had little patience for the pretentious. The crispy autumn leaves crunched beneath Trevor's polished shoes, contrasting sharply with the worn asphalt of Danny's driveway. Little did Danny know, one simple knock would start a whirlwind that would flip his world upside down. As Trevor stepped across the threshold, the scent of home-cooked burgers wafted in from the nearby park, mingling with the sweet steam of Danny's dreams for his kids, a sturdy house with a big backyard where they could laugh and play, far from the weight of grief left behind by his late father. "How's it going? You here for the burgers?" Danny asked, his voice cheerful despite the shadows lurking behind his tough exterior. Trevor chuckled. "Guess I'm more of a lost lamb than a hungry wolf in search of a meal." And just like that, they clicked, two men from entirely different worlds, yet sharing a longing for something real amidst their chaotic lives. As they sat at the park, watching kids sprint after soccer balls, their conversations bounced from childhood memories to dreams of brighter futures. Danny, cloaked in a jacket that had seen better days, shared laughing stories of his children's antics, while Trevor spoke cautiously, revealing his fears about the life he'd lost. But cracks in their bond soon showed. The whispers from townsfolk danced around them like lost spirits. "Danny's just after the money. Can you believe it?" someone muttered, eyebrows furrowed in envy as they tossed a side glance at the billionaire lost in laughter with Danny and his kids. Thorns of jealousy pricked at Danny's heart, forcing him to question whether he had crossed a line by befriending someone wealthy. Somewhere beneath the golden leaves and delight of autumn, a storm brewed both literally and metaphorically. Before long, Danny and Trevor found themselves caught in the midst of chaos as a furious weather front tore through Maplewood. Wind ripped roofs off houses, turning laughter into terror. Families rushed to help one another, demonstrating an undeniable spirit of community that struck a chord deep within Danny's patriotic heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with roofs blown off and lives disrupted. Trevor witnessed the true spirit of Maplewood. This isn't just a town, it's family, he said, glancing at Danny as they helped their neighbors clear debris. Brotherhood and vulnerability drew them closer together, as they cradled the fragile hearts of their hometown amidst the wreckage. But as light returned, a hidden secret began to surface, one that intertwined Danny's family construction business with Trevor's past. What truths lingered just beneath the surface would threaten their burgeoning friendship? Would their bond withstand the looming uncertainty? With every passing moment, the true test of brotherhood loomed ahead, spinning the wheels of destiny tighter. The calm after the storm felt surreal. Sunlight broke through the once dark clouds, casting a golden hue on the remnants of Maplewood. Trevor stood next to Danny, both men taking a moment to catch their breath after a relentless battle against the wind. The neighborhood came alive again, with neighbors emerging from their homes to assess the damage, but it felt more like a gathering than a disaster response. "Can you believe all this?" Trevor asked, surveying the scattered debris. His voice was quiet, reflective. Something had shifted in him amidst the chaos. Danny nodded, still trying to process everything. "It's crazy. One minute you think you're just living your life, and then," his voice trailed off, the weight of the evening settling on him. He caught sight of his children, smudged with dirt and joy as they kicked a soccer ball in the midst of the wreckage. They were alive, safe, and unaware of the deeper currents surrounding them. Before they could return to the task at hand, Mrs. Porter, their elderly neighbor, ambled over, a determined look on her weathered face. "Boys, let us get to work. We can't let a little wind stop us," she declared, brandishing a broom like a sword. The laughter that bubbled up from those around them, even in the face of despair, was infectious. "All right, let us pitch in," Danny exclaimed, a fire ignited within him. He was accustomed to leading his construction crew, but now he felt something more profound, a responsibility to this community he called home. Trevor looked at him, admiration shining in his eyes. "I'll grab some tools," Trevor said, sprinting over to his car. He didn't fit the mold of someone who would lend a hand in a place like this, but the warmth in his chest proved otherwise. With each hammer strike and shared smile amongst neighbors, Trevor found healing within the bonds forged in this tiny town. As they worked, the weight of the earlier whispers crept back in. The past pushed at the edges of Danny's thoughts, painting a picture of doubt on an otherwise vibrant canvas. "Trevor, do you think the townsfolk believe I'm doing this for the wrong reasons?" he finally asked, his hands pausing mid-stroke. Trevor wiped sweat from his brow, his expression earnest. "It's easy to speculate. But real friendship isn't about money or status. It's about being there when it matters. You're doing that for them and for me." Danny sighed, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "Yeah, it's just I want them to see that I'm not looking for any favors." A distant cry pulled their attention back to reality. One of Danny's boys had fallen, skinning a knee in the frenzy of soccer. Danny hurried over, scooping up his son, who looked up at him with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Hey, buddy, it's all right. You're tough, remember?" he said, his heart tightening. With a smile, his son nodded, and in that moment, Danny realized this was more than just about him. It was about the community and teaching his children how to rise, how to support one another. But Trevor had lingered, his gaze falling on the fallen boy. "You're doing great, Danny," he said softly. There was honesty in his voice, a recognition of the connection growing between them even amidst the looming threat of secrets. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with oranges and purples, Trevor turned serious. "We need to talk. There's something about my past, something that could change everything." Danny's heart raced. Secrets had a way of unraveling friendships. Would this be the catalyst for their own downfall? "Yeah, let us do it," Danny replied, resolve hardening in his chest, knowing their next conversation could either fortify their bond or tear it apart. What was Trevor hiding that could alter everything? The air was thick with anticipation as Danny and Trevor found a quiet corner near Mrs. Porter's porch. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that mingled with the debris scattered around them. Danny felt the weight of Trevor's words press down, heavy and foreboding. "Look, it's not easy for me to share this," Trevor said, his voice low but urgent. Danny's mind raced, unsure of what could possibly warrant such serious concern. "There's been a lot I didn't tell you about why I came to Maplewood in the first place." Danny's heart was pounding, the moment felt crucial. "I'm listening, man." He could see the conflict in Trevor's eyes, the tension in his jaw. Trevor shifted his weight, staring out over the remnants of their once thriving neighborhood. "You know how I kept things to myself? I thought I was protecting everyone from the truth, but it's just been eating me alive." He paused, taking a deep breath as if steeling himself. "I didn't just come here to escape my past. I came because I needed a fresh start. And I didn't want anyone to see me as the person I was before." "What do you mean?" Danny asked, feeling a mix of confusion and concern. Is it bad?" Trevor rubbed the back of his neck, uncertainty flickering across his face. "Let us just say I had a lot to lose. In my world, money was everything. I chased it, thinking it would make me happy. But when you stumble across the wrong people or make a deal you shouldn't have, it can all go south in an instant." Danny could see a shift in Trevor's demeanor, his bravado melting away like the sunlight slipping behind the trees. "You're talking about something serious. If it's that heavy, you don't have to know, I want to," Trevor insisted, his voice gaining strength. "I thought I could conceal it forever, but watching you care for your kids, seeing everyone come together here, it made me realize that I've been missing out on real connection." His eyes bore into Danny's, filled with both fear and longing. "I lost everything in a matter of months, friends, investments, even my family. They couldn't understand why I chose to walk away. But coming here, being part of this community, it's made me feel alive again." "You've made me feel alive again." A knot formed in Danny's throat. "But if this is about your past, if there's something I should know that could put this place at risk, we've got to face it together." Trevor nodded, the gravity of the moment sinking in. "It's just that the people I ran with, they don't let go easily. And if they find out where I am, then let us make sure they don't find us," Danny interrupted, determination brewing within him. "We'll keep this town safe." There was a shared understanding between them. Secrets had a way of festering in silence, but now they were armed with something far more powerful: trust. A distant cheer erupted from the kids, drawing their attention. The sight of laughter and carefree play reminded Danny of what was at stake. "Whatever it takes, we protect this place. Together." As they turned back to the bustling crowd of neighbors and children, Trevor placed a hand on Danny's shoulder, the weight of their shared burdens whispering promises of a renewed commitment. But just as the moment of unity settled in, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Its presence felt wrong, an intruder in the midst of their hopeful atmosphere. Trevor's face paled, the confidence slipping away as he recognized the vehicle. I think they've found me," he whispered, dread dripping from each word. In that moment, Danny and Trevor knew they were standing at the edge of a cliff. What would happen next? Would they be able to protect Maplewood from the shadows of Trevor's past? The answer loomed just ahead, a challenge that threatened to tear apart the bonds they had just forged. Trevor's breath quickened, panic flashing in his eyes. The black car loomed, out of place against the warm hues of the evening. Something cold coiled in Danny's stomach. They had just begun to forge their trust, and now it felt like the ground was slipping beneath them. "What do we do?" Danny asked, his voice barely rising above a whisper. He glanced at the crowd, the laughter of children still echoing around them. They were blissfully unaware of the threat rolling down the street. Trevor's lips thinned as he scanned their surroundings, his mind racing. "They might not know I'm here yet. We have to act normal. Stick to the plan." He forced a shaky breath and tried to mask his fear. Danny nodded, but his mind was already racing. A plan. They needed one, and fast. "Maybe we can draw attention away from us. We could start a game, something to distract everyone. Get them to move away from the porch." Trevor gave a grim nod, his eyes still darting to the sleek vehicle. "Let us do it. Now." They stepped out into the light, Danny calling out to the kids. "Hey! Who wants to play kickball?" Excited cheers erupted as the children turned their attention to him, their faces lighting up with joy and curiosity. Without missing a beat, Trevor joined in, putting on a show of enthusiasm. "I'm the best player. You better not underestimate me." The gathered adults turned to watch the emerging game, their smiles contagious. For a brief moment, Danny allowed himself to relax, watching the delight of the kids take over, forgetting the looming threat. But above the cheers, Danny's heart sank as he noticed the figures emerging from the car, two men in dark suits, surveying the area with sharp, calculating expressions. He felt sweat trickling down his back. They were searching for something, not just Trevor, but everything he had tried to leave behind. "They're coming this way," Danny whispered to Trevor, his voice taut with urgency. Trevor's jaw clenched. "We've got to keep the kids engaged. If we can just buy a little time." Danny stepped closer. "And what if they find you? What's the plan then?" Trevor looked like he'd just swallowed a stone. I don't know. I didn't think they would come this far. The game picked up momentum, but Danny could see Trevor's anxiety seep into the air. The laughter around them felt fragile, as if it might shatter like glass at any moment. The suited men finally approached. Trevor. One of them spoke, his voice smooth yet threatening. We need to talk. Danny stepped in front of Trevor instinctively. Who are you? He demanded, defiance sparking in his chest. The man in front of him arched an eyebrow. Just some old friends of Trevor's. He's been avoiding us for too long. Danny felt Trevor's presence falter behind him. You need to leave, Danny said, his voice stronger than he felt. This is a place for families. You don't belong here. One of the men chuckled, a cold sound devoid of warmth. You really think you can protect him? You don't know the half of what he has done. Danny's heart raced. Trevor needed him to keep it together. They couldn't let fear take over. Maybe I don't know his past, but I know the man he is now, Danny shot back, each word filled with determination. And that's all that matters. Trevor's expression shifted between gratitude and dread. He stepped beside Danny, their camaraderie solidifying in that moment of defiance. The men exchanged glances, weighing their options. We'll be back, the first said, turning away with an air of authority, each step echoing with the unresolved tension. As they retreated, the laughter of the kids faded into a worried silence, their innocence now mingling with fear. Trevor looked at Danny, his eyes wide with a mix of relief and trepidation. We need to prepare ourselves, Trevor whispered, dread curling at the edges of their brief victory. They won. Just back off. Danny glanced around at the concerned faces of their neighbors, the children confused and restless. You're right. But together, we'll find a way to protect everyone. But even as he spoke, a shadow hung over him. What would the next confrontation look like? And what price would they have to pay to shield Maplewood from the ghosts of Trevor's past? The air was thick with tension as Trevor and Danny watched the black car vanish around the corner. The children, still wide-eyed and bouncing on their feet, were blissfully unaware that everything had shifted. Trevor's heart raced, and he finally turned away from the empty street to face Danny, whose face was drawn tight with concern. We have to call in some support, Trevor said, the words tumbling out as he glanced around. I can't handle this alone. Not anymore. Danny nodded vigorously. What do you have in mind? Wasn't there someone from your past you could reach out to? Maybe a family member? A friend? Trevor hesitated, the shadows of his old life creeping back into his mind. There's one person. He swallowed hard, his face shifting with uncertainty. But it's complicated. I left all of that behind for a reason. Complicated doesn't cut it right now, Danny countered, his voice urgent. We need allies. Do you think they might help? Can you trust them? Trevor's brow furrowed as he thought of the years spent in silence, distancing himself from the chaos that had once consumed his life. But now, as he processed Danny's words, he felt the stirrings of hope. Maybe. I can't ignore this. These men are serious. They moved back towards the center of the gathering, where neighbors exchanged nervous whispers. Danny could feel the weight of scrutiny on them, his stomach twisting into knots. The kids were still playing, trying to recapture the joy of the moment, but he could see the fear bubbling just beneath the surface. It was time to anchor them, to bring back some semblance of normalcy. All right, Danny said, clapping his hands together, the sound echoing in the thickening silence. Let us try to keep everyone active. How about we turn this kickball game into a neighborhood event? Let everyone pitch in for snacks or a barbecue afterward. We can create a distraction. Trevor's eyes lit with a flicker of gratitude. That could work. And while the crowd is distracted, I can make that call. With an unspoken understanding fueling their resolve, Danny gathered the children, trying to amplify the excitement. Laughter began to bubble again, mixing with the anxious murmurs of the adults as the games picked back up. Trevor stood somewhat apart, his face pale as he dug out his phone, hands shaking slightly. He hesitated for just a second before dialing, knowing it could lead them down a path he had desperately tried to avoid. As the buzzing tone filled the air, he braced himself. "Come on, please pick up Trevor." The voice on the other end was urgent and familiar, igniting a wave of emotions he thought he had buried long ago. "I didn't think I would hear from you. What is going on?" Trevor took a deep breath, the weight of his past colliding with the present. "I'm in trouble, and I need your help." The reply was immediate, laced with concern. "What have you gotten yourself into?" A flash of panic rippled through Trevor, overshadowing the innocence that surrounded him. The game continued, the children's giggles ringing hollow as he realized how precarious his situation had become. Would this be the moment his past broke through the defenses he had worked so hard to build? Danny looked over, his face filled with encouragement, and Trevor felt the flicker of hope rekindle. "I don't know, but I've got the sneaking feeling they'll be back soon." The realization settled heavily in the atmosphere. Together, they had to face whatever storm was coming, not just for themselves, but for everyone who had unwittingly stepped into the chaos of Trevor's life. The call ended abruptly, leaving Trevor in silence. The calm before the storm hung over him, thick and unyielding. Would reinforcements come in time? What risks would he be taking by reaching back into his past? And as they gathered the neighborhood closer, laughter still echoing through the air, Trevor couldn't shake the feeling that they were all standing on the precipice of something big. Would they be prepared for what came next? A heavy hush fell over the gathering as Trevor stood still with his phone in hand. He could feel the children's laughter echo farther away, grounding him while uncertainty clouded his mind. He looked across the yard, watching Danny rally the kids, their faces full of innocent glee. It was a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside him, the swirling doubt and dread. "Trevor, you okay?" Danny shouted, catching a glimpse of his friend's ashen face. Trevor nodded slowly, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just processing." The other man gave him an encouraging grin before turning back to the kids. They were distracted now, kicking the ball, running around, their joy a balm to the mounting tension. But for Trevor, the joy felt like a mask, hiding the real danger that lurked just beyond the horizon. He moved to the sidelines, seeking refuge beneath a thick oak tree. The trunk was sturdy, a stark reminder of what permanence felt like. As he leaned against it, memories washed over him, times past filled with not just laughter but chaos. He thought about the decisions that had led him here. Why had he thought running away from all of it could be the answer? In the midst of his thoughts, his phone buzzed again, a text from the person he'd called. "I'm on my way. Don't do anything crazy." It sent a shiver down his spine. He had barely dipped a toe into the chaos, and already the shadows were reaching out. This was the moment he dreaded, but now it felt like a monster hidden in dim light. Would he have the strength to confront it? Danny ran over, his face flushed with excitement. "Trevor, they're really getting into the game. This could really lift spirits around here." "Just trying to keep everyone focused," Trevor replied, masking the unease in his voice. Crossing his arms, he scanned the horizon. "Are you sure this is enough? What if they come back before we're ready?" Danny shrugged, a hint of worry flashing across his face. "We just have to keep them safe until." A sudden commotion drowned his words. A scream tore through the air as a child fell, scrambling to the ground. The laughter shattered, making the gathering feel fragile again. Trevor's heart raced as he rushed over. "Emily, are you all right?" He knelt beside the whimpering girl. A scraped knee, a minor injury, but the fear in her eyes mirrored his own swirling terror. I thought I saw a man." He was in a black car. The air stiffened as Trevor's heart dropped. "What did you see, Emily?" Her small voice quivered. "He was watching us for a long time." The concerned chatter of parents grew louder around them, whispers of dread emerging. Trevor's stomach twisted. He felt the shadows of urgency writhing at his heels again. "Danny," he called out, his voice steadier than he felt. "We need everyone to gather up. Now." The vibrant atmosphere shifted, kids and parents drawing closer together. Trevor clutched Emily's hand, squeezing it gently. "It's okay, you're safe here." While Danny rallied the crowd, Trevor fought back the memories clawing at the edges of his mind. What would it mean if his past was catching up to him, threatening not just him but everyone he cared about? A mother nearby shot him a worried glance, one that bore the weight of unfounded resentment and palpable fear. "Is everything all right? You seem troubled." He swallowed, gripping the tiny hand in his. "It's nothing we can't handle. Just a little bump in the road." But as the crowd fell into tense silence, his heartbeat echoed with an unspoken truth: this was no bump. This was a world unraveling, and he needed to find the strength not just for himself, but for everyone. Then his phone buzzed again, a simple "I'm here" message. A figure loomed at the edge of the gathering. And just as trepidation settled over the group, Trevor knew one thing for sure. They would not face this alone. But the question remained: what would emerge from the darkness that was once his past? Would it bring answers or unleash chaos? Trevor's gaze locked on the figure. The man stood at the edge of the yard, partially hidden by the branches of the oak tree, but Trevor felt the weight of his presence as if it wrapped around him. He recognized him immediately: Derek, the very name that had haunted his thoughts for years. Derek was supposed to belong to the past, but here he was, standing too close to the future Trevor was desperately trying to protect. Trevor's heart raced, a mix of panic and dread coursing through his veins. "Danny," Trevor said, his voice low, yet urgent. "That's him." Danny turned sharply, his brows knitting together. "Who?" "The man Emily saw?" Trevor nodded, his throat dry. "It's Derek." The tension in the air thickened like fog rolling in off the ocean. Derek's expression was unreadable as he scanned the crowd. Trevor's mind flashed back to the fire that had burned their brotherhood, a moment that had turned friends into strangers. Would today spark a different kind of fire? "Everyone, stay close," Trevor instructed, trying to project calm. He tightened his grip on Emily's hand. "Why do you look so scared?" Emily whispered, her eyes wide. Trevor forced a smile despite the churning in his gut. "Just watching over you, kiddo." But his gaze remained fixed on Derek, who now seemed to be making his way toward them, deliberately, as if he wanted to retrieve something lost. "Trevor," Danny said, confusion etching his features. "What is going on?" "Just keep the kids together," Trevor said, his heart pounding louder. He felt trapped between the boy fearing what lay ahead and the man determined not to be the coward he once was. Derek finally stepped into the clearing, a stark figure against the autumn backdrop, his once familiar face marred with hard lines and shadows of regret. "Trevor," he called out, his voice steady, yet loaded with a history that neither of them could escape. "Why are you here?" Trevor barked, anger and fear intertwining. He couldn't let the past spill over. Not now, not when everything was at stake. "I came to find you." "We need to talk," Derek replied, his gaze softer than Trevor remembered. Around them, the parents murmured, children whispered, sensing the charged atmosphere. Trevor's grip on Emily tightened. What was he supposed to do? Let Derek back in or slam the door shut for good? "No," Trevor said. "You left. You don't get to just come back and pretend everything's fine." Derek's eyes darkened with pain. "I know. I understand if you hate me. But there are things you need to know. Things that could help." "What things?" Trevor shot back, skepticism dripping from his tone. What could you possibly have to say that would change anything now? Before Derek could respond, Danny interjected. "Guys, we're all scared and confused. Maybe we should just listen." Trevor's thoughts raced. His resolve had faltered, could he really put aside his anger for the greater good? The children needed stability. Derek's return could either disrupt the fragile peace or bring the answers that he had buried deep inside for years. There was a split in the air, a decision looming over him. Would he stand firm in his past grievances, or was it time to peel back the layers of hurt, the way a parent would for their child? Just as he opened his mouth to respond, a gnarled voice emerged from the crowd. Mrs. Jenkins, the neighborhood's resident matriarch. Shouldn't we see what he has to say? Maybe that's what we need to face this together. The crowd murmured in agreement, turning their anxious eyes toward Trevor. How could he choose between the community he loved and this man from his past? As Trevor faced the crowd, their expressions urged him to act, an electric energy suffusing the air. Maybe it was time to confront the chaos and see where it led. Maybe it could mean making peace or unleashing something darker. All right. Talk, Trevor said finally, bracing himself for whatever revelations were about to come, knowing that the truth was often found in the heart of chaos. But as Derek took a step forward, a distant roar echoed through the air, interrupting their moment. A black car screeched into the driveway, drawing everyone's gaze, and Trevor's heart dropped as he recognized the unmistakable logo gleaming on the side. What new conflict had just arrived at their doorstep? Trevor's heart raced as the car's engine growled like a beast awakening. The sleek black vehicle slowed, tires squealing against the gravel, kicking up dust around it. In the driver's seat, a figure emerged, a man in a sharply tailored suit, exuding power with each movement. Trevor exchanged a tense glance with Derek, who instantly paled. What do they want? Derek asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Who knows? Trevor replied, feeling the knot of dread tighten in his stomach. The world felt like it was crashing down again, overwhelming and relentless. His pulse pounded in his ears, and the crowd had gone silent, captivated by the intrusion. The man stepped out, adjusting his cuffs, surveying the gathering with cold, calculating eyes. People whispered, confusion mingling with fear. Trevor could sense the unease ripple through the children, clinging closer to their parents, and he tightened his grip on Emily's hand instinctively. Is that Danny? Began, his voice trailing off as he searched for words. I think it is, Trevor replied, the cold sweat forming on his brow. He recognized that logo too well. It belonged to a corporation that had driven countless families from their homes in a relentless quest for profit. This was far more than just a tactical error from their past, this was a threat looming over them all. Well, this should be interesting, Derek muttered, shifting nervously as he backed towards Trevor, his bravado slipping away like sand through fingers. Trevor. You need to handle this. Danny exclaimed, the urgency flashing in his eyes. You're the one everyone trusts. Trevor swallowed hard. Trust? How could he lead when his own heart was tangled in doubt? Fear twisted in his chest like a tightening vice. Hey! You! Trevor shouted, breaking from the group. The crowd shifted uncomfortably as they watched him approach the intruder. What do you want here? The man smirked, a chilling grin that sent shivers down Trevor's spine. Mr. Trevor Lawson, ASNT it? I'm here to discuss, he looked at Derek, then back to Trevor, some unfinished business. Trevor felt his breath catch as adrenaline surged through him. He wanted to believe that whatever this man was pushing wouldn't hurt those he loved. He thought of Emily, innocent and bright-eyed, unaware of how fragile the world truly was. Would this man want to take something from her? Derek stepped forward, a flicker of old courage igniting within him. Whatever you're here for, it ends now. We've had enough. The man chuckled lightly, as though Derek was amusing. Oh, I think you're mistaken. This isn't just about you anymore. This is about what I want. And I think I can make you an offer you can't refuse. Trevor felt like a deer caught in headlights. What kind of offer could change their lives so drastically? The look on the man's face was menacingly composed. The entire crowd seemed to hold their breath, the air thick with anticipation and fear. What do you mean? Trevor shot back, trying to muster whatever bravery remained inside him. The man stepped closer, the sharpness in his eyes revealing something darker. Let's just say, it could be a lucrative deal for both of us, or we could take an entirely different route if you resist. Trevor's heart sank. This wasn't just a conversation, it felt like a collision course toward chaos. What had Derek stirred up from the past that could entice this man? In the distance, he could still feel Derek's shadow lingering, the weight of their history anchoring him down. But as he looked from the menacing figure back to his group, he realized they were all watching him, awaiting his next move. The stakes had never felt higher, and the weight of their trust settled heavily on his shoulders. Could he protect them from the truth that threatened to rise? "What are you going to do?" Danny asked quietly, fear evident in his voice. Trevor's breath hitched. "I don't know," and then it hit him, this wasn't just Derek's chance to come back, it was their chance to rise up. But how? "Whatever is going on here ends with me," Trevor said finally, something fierce building in his chest. Just as he prepared to confront the simmering storm ahead, a piercing scream broke the silence, echoing across the yard. What had just unraveled in their world? The scream cut through the air like glass shattering, pulling everyone from their paralyzed state. Trevor's heart dropped as he turned sharply towards the sound. A woman at the edge of the crowd clutched her child, her eyes wide with terror. "They're coming!" she cried, her voice shaking, the panic palpable. Trevor's instincts kicked in, and he felt their shared fear like a weight against his chest. He couldn't let chaos take root. He needed to keep everyone calm, to stand his ground. "Everyone, stay together!" Trevor shouted, waving the crowd to form a tighter circle around the children. "Just breathe." But the crowd was already fracturing, the desperation taking hold. Trevor exchanged frantic glances with Derek and Danny. "We need to move back," Derek urged, pulling at Trevor's sleeve, eyes flickering toward the man in the suit, who still stood unmoved. "What do you think he'll do?" Danny whispered, a tremor in his voice. Trevor took a step forward, putting himself between the man in the suit and the crowd. "You need to leave now. We aren't afraid of you." A dangerous glint flashed in the man's eyes. "Fear isn't the issue here, Trevor. It's about choice." Suddenly, the man pulled out a sleek, metallic device from his pocket. It blinked ominously, a low hum resonating from it. Trevor's heart raced. What was he planning? Before Trevor could react, the crowd surged backward, retreating in a wave of fear. People shouted, children cried. It felt like the ground was trembling beneath them, a fragile truce collapsing. "Stop!" Trevor yelled over the noise. "We're not your pawns." The man smiled, a chilling smile that sent chills down Trevor's spine. "Ah, but every player has their card to play. Yours just happens to be a wild one." Trevor felt the color drain from his face, the stakes shifting yet again. "What do you want?" he asked, every word feeling like a struggle. "We're turning this place into a development. You should be glad, really. New jobs, new homes," the man said, his tone as smooth as oil. "But there's one last thing to settle." Behind Trevor, he could feel the unease radiate from the crowd, their eyes growing wide as they grasped the implications of his words. Homes. Everything their families had was on the line. He steadied himself, pushing through the wave of anxiety threatening to overwhelm him. "What if we don't agree?" Trevor challenged, desperate to show strength. "Then we'll see just how strong your community really is, and how much they are willing to fight for what they have," he replied coolly. The threat lingered in the air, heavy and unforgiving. Trevor's mind raced. They had to find a way anyway to protect their homes, their lives. "Let us bring this to the people," Trevor finally said, his voice stronger than he felt. "You want to negotiate? We'll do it face to face. Every person who stands to lose something has a say. The man arched an eyebrow, surprised by Trevor's defiance. Interesting proposal. I wonder how many will stand with you. Trevor could feel the eyes of the crowd on him. He was their leader now, even if he didn't feel like one. Would they follow him into this confrontation? Would they stand against the man who represented everything they feared? Together, I know we can fight this, he insisted, looking around at the faces of those he cared for. Together we are stronger. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a flicker of hope igniting among the fear. The man regarded Trevor with a thoughtful look as if trying to weigh their potential against the threat he held. The tension in the air was thick like fog, both sides poised for a fight, and Trevor could feel the urgency tightening in his chest. He turned to the crowd, his own uncertainty fighting with renewed determination. They needed to rally together, to face this new threat as one. "Who's with me?" he shouted, his voice echoing. But just as some began to step forward, the ground beneath them shook again, this time not from their fear. It felt different, ominous. The man raised his device. "You just made a big mistake, Trevor. Let us see how committed you really are." And with that, the world tilted sideways. What new danger had just emerged? The ground rattled beneath Trevor's feet, shaking the foundation of the resolve he had just begun to build. The sky seemed to darken with each breath he took, filled with the weight of uncertainty. Still, he couldn't falter now, not with his family and neighbors here, all gathered around in anxious anticipation. "Stay back!" Trevor shouted, instinctively stepping in front of the crowd, holding them together like fragile glass. Every instinct in him screamed to protect them, to shield their hopes and dreams from the chaos unfolding. "What are you planning?" Danny yelled from the back, his voice rising above the rising din. The kids clung to their parents, fright evident in their eyes, unaware of the reality threatening to upend their innocent lives. The man in the suit grinned wider. "You'll see soon enough. Just remember, you started this by coming against us." He pressed a button on the device. In the next heartbeat, everything exploded into chaos. The ground quaked violently, fierce vibrations cracking through the air as dust and commotion engulfed them. People screamed as debris from the nearby building, small, loose bricks, shattered glass flung into the sky like confetti from a twisted celebration. Trevor felt adrenaline surging as he protected Emily, pulling her close as instinct kicked in. "Run! Move!" he shouted, his voice rising above the panic, becoming a lifeline in the chaos. Around him, he saw people instinctively gather their children, rallying together under the threat looming like an ominous storm cloud. Despite the terror surging through them, something powerful stirred resilience, the raw will to fight. "Danny, gather everyone," Trevor commanded, his mind racing. "We can't let him break us apart." Danny nodded, pulling others in their direction, rallying their neighbors like a commander on the battlefield. Families quickly moved, urgency eclipsing fear. They formed a tight circle, barricading against the violent world encroaching on their lives. Trevor turned back to the man, his voice echoing. "You want to fight?" he challenged loudly, determination flooding his heart. "Then you'll have to face us all." The contractor's eyes shifted, surprise glinting in them as the crowd pushed back against the chaos. "You really believe you can stop me? You're just an insignificant town looking for meaning." "Maybe," Trevor replied, refusing to back down as he surveyed the faces around him. Hope had flickered in their eyes, a connection uniting them against the storm. "But you have no idea what it means to stand together." Together, they shouted, a unified roar cascading through the thrumming air, a sound that resonated with strength, a force growing amid the destruction. The tide shifted, Trevor felt the bond of his community becoming an unyielding shield against the oppressive threat. The man hesitated, his confidence faltering in the face of their resolve. "You think you can just shield yourselves with this unity? You'll regret standing against us." But Trevor shook his head, taking a step forward. No, we're not afraid of you. If it means protecting our homes, our families, we'll face whatever comes our way. It's our fight, and we'll win together." As the crowd began to echo his words, Trevor felt electric energy course through him. Each person with him became emboldened, igniting a passion that burned bright in their hearts. Hope blossomed as they stood shoulder to shoulder. With a deliberate maneuver, Trevor pointed toward the approaching menacing figure. "You see these people? They've shown me the importance of community, the strength that comes from standing together. You might have power and money, but we have something far more valuable, each other." At that moment, the man's confidence wavered. Trevor felt the balance shifting. "Shout if you stand with me," he bellowed. Voices erupted, erupting in a tide of determination. "Together!" they cried, their voices swelling to a crescendo, a force powerful enough to shake the fears from their hearts. The man in the suit faltered for a moment, taken aback by the collective strength. Trevor seized the opportunity. He stepped forward, eyes fierce, determination resonating in his voice. "This is our home. You will not take it from us." The energy pulsated through the crowd like a living thing, glowing with resilience. "I'll show you how this town fights back," Trevor declared, igniting a fire deep within them. "You came here thinking we were easy prey, but you clearly underestimated the heart of Maplewood. We may not have fancy suits or cars, but we have our spirit." Just then, Trevor noticed the dark vehicle shift again. "What now?" he thought, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. The man glanced at the settling crowd, retreating slightly as understanding flickered in his eyes. "You think this is over?" he sneered. "I'll return, and then you'll wish you never stood against me." But Trevor stood tall, unwavering. The powerful surge in the air moved through him, replacing the icy dread that had once seized control. "And we'll be waiting. Because together, we're stronger. Together, we'll protect what we love." As the dark figure retreated, the crowd erupted in triumphant cheers, the weight of uncertainty beginning to lift. Trevor felt a radiant warmth spreading through him from the laughter of children, the solidarity of families, and the knowledge that they had faced a storm and emerged from it with their hearts still beating fiercely. This wasn't just a battle, it was a transformation. Trevor had discovered the truth: one knock had transformed not just a billionaire's life, but ignited a community, instilled with hope and a shared commitment to one another. Together, they would reclaim the light, refusing to shrink beneath darkness. Together, they had become family. As they embraced the new dawn that hung before them, Trevor knew this moment would carry them forward, united in resolve. Maplewood was not just a place, it was a promise, a heartbeat that would echo long after the shadows had retreated. And now, more than ever, they would rise together. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will warm your heart. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing strong. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible journey. Let's spread the strength of unity together.